This is a podcast by WellHouse Church, where personal spiritual growth is fueled through a variety of practices rather than a single prescriptive time of devotion, where we discuss different spiritual practices that help us be more present with God, others, and ourselves. What's going on, practitioners?
Hey.
What's popping?
Don't mind me, just watch it. Couldn't help myself. What's going on, man?
Oh, finals. Getting there, doing it. Putting in the work. You know how it is.
I get it. I wrote one of my 3 paper, or I guess I did 2 assignments that were due this week. I wrote 1 paper. It was originally supposed to be like 6 pages. It ended up being like 10. Of course it did. So I don't know. Huh?
I've been there.
Yeah, I emailed the prof to see if it's going to be a problem. But, I mean, because, the hardest part's editing it out.
What parts are the essential pieces that you need to keep?
Well, and this was a weird paper. It's the weird one I was telling you about. Yeah. So it's like it's not a paper like that where I can go, what do I keep and what do I not? I'm
like it's all essential.
I'm telling a story. So just one of those weird things. So wrote that today, did another assignment. I actually finished a whole class today. Good. So like I've ended the requirements for one class.
I actually did the same today. I finished all the requirements for a class.
Yeah. So I've got to do some more stuff tonight after we finish filming, but
me too, actually.
And then I've got to write another paper this week. I've got an oral final on Zoom on Friday, and then I have another final on Tuesday.
Nice.
Yep.
Getting there.
Yep.
Oh, so close, man. I can like feel it.
Yeah, you got quite a bit longer than I do. I'm done basically this week. I have 1 final on Tuesday, but I'm essentially done this week, and you got 2 more weeks left.
Let's see.
That.
We're 2 weeks ahead on filming, right?
Yeah, so this will...
I'm
not sure when this is going to go out.
This episode might be going out.
I think when this episode goes out, you're going to have 1 more week left.
Yeah, I will be gearing up for finals.
Yeah.
So close. So close. But one of my favorite topics to talk about in the entire world, and ask almost anybody, they will tell you that I love talking about the Enneagram.
Yep.
I'm a personality nerd. I'm a psychology nerd, right? Like I'm into this stuff. And I won't ever forget the day that I was first introduced to the Enneagram. I was in a small group with this church that I was in, and they were going through The Road Back to You, which you actually have in your hand.
Yep, great book.
And they were like telling me about the Enneagram, and they were like, "What number are you?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I had no idea. And so they told me to buy the book. I bought the book. I bought The Road Back to You. I read it, and oh my gosh, like at times you feel attacked because it's so accurate, but at times it's like extremely uplifting and gives you a positive idea of how to improve yourself, right?
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling when I read The Road Back to You. I didn't feel attacked or uplifted. I felt like they were reading my mail, in which I had some of those feelings because
they were reading your mail.
Yeah, they were reading my mail. It's not like it was, oh, hey, they're attacking this part of the character and uplifting this part. It was, hey, they got me down to a point, and because they got me, it some of this actually hits pretty deep and is digging up some old roots that I didn't know were there.
And stepping on your toes a little bit. And
yeah, well, and I think that's the thing I love about the Enneagram is it's not designed for you and I to sit here and have this conversation and see someone else or have someone else in the conversation with us challenge us on something and go, "Oh, you're such an 8."
Yeah.
Like it's not designed for us to type one another.
Oh, you're such a Scorpio.
Yeah, it's not designed for that. It's designed for you to better learn yourself.
Yeah.
This book is called The Road Back to You, but the subtitle is An Enneagram Journey to Self-Discovery. It's for you to better know you, and first and foremost, why you do some of the things that you do.
Yeah.
And number 2, to help keep better tabs on yourself so that you can have a good read on where you are in your journey of self-discovery and self-care.
Yeah. We'll get to this in a little bit. But I recently had one of those moments where I realized that because I had read The Road Back to You and I am so familiar with the Enneagram, I realized I was getting to an unhealthy place, and I knew what I needed to do to fix it.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just jump in with the 1.
Okay, so I have a story about this. And this kind of goes into, don't let people type you.
Yeah.
Don't let people project a type onto you, because it's quite hindering. So I was attending the same church that you were when they were going through the Enneagram studies in the small groups. And I happened to be not in a small group, but in another group that was like a training group, and they had all taken the Enneagram because they were in small groups, and I hadn't been in the small group during the Enneagram thing, and so I didn't know what the Enneagram was. I hadn't heard of it before, and I had said something in there, and someone in the group typed me. And actually, now thinking back on what I said and the way they typed me, I was like, actually, I'm not sure that you fully understand the Enneagram, because the comment that I made, we were in a communicators group. I was learning how to be a better storyteller with some of the staff and other leaders there. And so we were telling our story as an exercise in storytelling. And one of the things that I said was, through my first 2 degrees, I had a 4.0 GPA. Like, and it wasn't in a way to brag. It was a way to reveal a piece of myself that no one else would know, because you don't go around spouting off your GPA. Well, when I said that, there was a person in the group that goes, "Oh, you're such a 1." I was like, "What do you mean a 1?" This is like at the end of the story as we're like debriefing the story. And he goes, "Oh, like an Enneagram 1." And I was like, "Huh, I don't know what that is." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're, doing it in church, whatever." So we go through. And so like when I went and took the tests, I did the test based on the action that I do, not why I do them. And so I got typed as a 1.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand the Enneagram fully, and he typed me. And so I was like, "Oh, okay,
right.
Well, I must be a 1. But actually, if you really learn the 1, having a 4.0 GPA actually doesn't make you a 1 at all."
No, not necessarily. It
I
could.
mean, you could be a 1 and have a 4.0 GPA, but actually it's pretty indicative of another type, the performer, the 3, which is what I actually am.
Yeah.
So it does go in. Don't let people type you. This is not that kind of personality tool. It's not Myers-Briggs.
No,
it's supposed to tell you how to communicate within an organization. Yeah. Like, it's not that.
It's not a DISC assessment.
It's not a DISC assessment that tells you how you function within an organization, or how you want to receive communication, or you need to give communication, or what your strengths are. It's not Strength Finders.
No.
It's not those. It is a tool for you to understand yourself.
Yeah. And also can be used to help you understand other people as well.
It can, yeah, but it's never supposed to be used for you to type someone else.
Dude.
If you know their type, you can pick up on some things, right? So, like, I know Clayton's a 6, and so I know that if he's in a very unhealthy place, he's overworking.
Yeah.
And so, like, I know that, but I should never just walk up to someone and go, "Oh, they're working really hard. They must be a 3." Right? Because 1s and 8s can also function at a very high level, but it doesn't make them 3s.
And like you just said, somebody that's a hard worker could also just be a 6. It's in a really unhealthy place too.
Yeah,
right?
They're passive integration and disintegration, and
it's be 9, 2, 3. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, a 9. Yeah,
a healthy 9
would function as a 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's actually something we need to talk about is integration, disintegration, or safety and stress.
Stress and security.
Stress and security, that's right.
Or integration, disintegration.
So something that you're going to find within different resources for the Enneagram is that it can be different in places, right? Not wrong, but some people are going to phrase things differently than other people would.
Yeah, they're going to use different wording. So the kind of like textbook for the Enneagram is a book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. And it's a big blue book with the Enneagram symbol on the front of it if you're looking for it. And it's like the textbook for the Enneagram. And it uses stress, like paths of stress and paths of security.
Yeah.
It uses paths of integration or disintegration. Whereas some of the more popular level books don't like that verbiage. And so they use security and stress in place of those. So you do kind of have to know the verbiage and the bigger picture around the Enneagram to know. That's why I really think that The Road Back to You is a great starting place.
It is.
Because it uses that popular level language and explains it really well. And Ian Morgan and Suzanne Stable they're just great storytellers.
They are. That book is seriously super engaging.
Yeah, it is. It's an easy read. It's laid out well. You can take it in bite-sized chunks. And I feel like you get a better understanding of yourself reading the book rather than if you were going to go take one of the tests online.
No, I think I agree. The tests online, so first of all, if you want to go take the test, it's Eclectic Energies.
Yeah.
That's probably the best one to use. It's the best free one. The Enneagram Institute is also a great resource.
I like to use theirs as people get deeper into the Enneagram to use it in relationships.
Yeah.
So like when I do premarital counseling, I make everybody go take the Enneagram and use the Enneagram Institute and the relationship category about how you work together and function together.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's helpful for that. But let's jump right in and start talking about these types.
So the Enneagram Institute talks about type 1 as the reformer. I know Ian talks about it as the perfectionist, right?
The perfectionist, yep.
So they type the 1 as the rational idealistic type, principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionist.
Okay.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think so.
Just the type that gets stuff done, right?
Yeah, so they can function at a really high level. They are very black and white people. Generally,
that's pretty true.
They don't see a lot of gray in issues. Things are good, bad, right, and wrong.
Yeah.
And they really live to make the world a better place. They're very ethical. They're dedicated. They're reliable. They're gonna be that person that's there when you need them.
Yeah.
And their goal in life is to make the world a better place. They want to leave the world in a better place than when they got here.
Yeah, absolutely. What does Ian say the 1 is?
He says it's the perfectionist. They're ethical, dedicated, and reliable, motivated by a desire to live the right way, improve the world, and avoid fault and blame. And so this won't mean much right now, but for a 1, their path of integration or security would be a 4, and their path of disintegration or stress would be a 7. So I'm going to do that for each one as we go through, because I do think it's helpful as we go through them
Yeah.
You can go back to this and go, oh, well, or if you already know your type, you're like, oh, hey, well, this gives me better clarity on where I am when I'm stressed or when I'm in a healthy place.
Yeah. Definitely pick up Ian's book though and read it.
The Road Back to You, for sure.
It'll help
because you could have that thing. I was recently in a class where we had to talk about the Enneagram, and it's pastoral class, and it was like overwhelming the number of 1s and 2s that were there. And I couldn't help but think, like, guys, you really don't know the Enneagram, because it's not what you do, it's why you do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you take those tests, they test you on what you do, not as much on why you do them.
Right.
So that's why they can be misleading.
They definitely can be. And also something you need to know is that, so on either side of whatever your type is, your number type is, you can have a wing.
Yeah.
And what a wing is, so like for the one can have a 9 wing or a 2 wing.
Yep.
And speaking of the 2, these are the caring, interpersonal type, demonstrative, generous, people-pleasing, and possessive. All very true things.
Yeah, I think the key thing for a 2, because like we said, we can have a 1-wing 2 or a 3-wing 2.
Yeah.
Both people are very high achieving, 1s and 3s, and so they can act like a 2 because they have a wing, and because they're high functioning, they can manifest themselves as a predominant 2. But the real key is why you do it. Why do you have the need to serve? Why do you feel the need to be there for everyone?
Yeah.
As a 2, it's because you think that's the only way they will love you.
Yeah.
If you're not needed, you're not loved.
Yeah.
And so you make yourself needed.
Yeah.
So that's the telling thing about a 2. And especially in the Christian world, that's what I want to be careful of. Everybody wants to be a servant.
Yeah.
Which is really what the 2 is.
Right.
I mean, The Road Back to You calls them the helper. Mm-hmm. Warm, caring, and giving, motivated by a need to be loved and needed, and to avoid acknowledging their own needs.
Yeah.
So, like, they're a servant through and through. And
Absolutely.
So in the Christian world, we all want to be servants because we see Jesus the servant, we're called to service, all those types of things. But it's not what you do, it's why you do it.
Yeah. So in one of the earlier episodes when we were going through spiritual pathways, we talked about the caregiver.
Yep.
We also briefly talked about the 2 on the Enneagram.
Well, it's just such a one-to-one relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sacred pathways and the Enneagram are not always going to be a one-to-one.
No.
But sometimes they just really are.
And the caregiver and the helper, the 2, that's it. Right. So if you want a little bit more explanation on the 2, go back and listen to that episode, because you might actually get a little bit more of a in-depth idea. We're also going to talk about the 2 in a couple weeks, but I would suggest you go back and listen to that episode as well. So 3, the Enneagram Institute calls it the achiever. I actually prefer that to Ian's, which is the performer, right?
Yeah, I think Ian is doing something a little different there, but we'll see. Give me the definition of the 3.
The success-oriented, pragmatic type, adaptive, excelling, driven, and image-conscious.
Yeah, so notice there that for the Enneagram Institute, image-conscious is the last thing they say. For Ian, it's one of the first things he says.
Yeah.
So I'm an Enneagram 3, and Ian calls it the performer.
Right.
And it's because they are image conscious, not in a way that like they need to be dressed to the nines all the time.
Right.
But their appearance, their image needs to be 100% representative of the image they're trying to project.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And so because of that, whatever room they step into, they feel a need to adapt themselves to fit that room and what they think people in that room need from them or want from them.
Yeah.
And so they, quote unquote, perform in that way.
These are your chameleons, right? If you have that friend that seemingly gets along with everybody,
Yeah.
And whatever room they're in, whatever people they're around, they can just flip a switch and immediately start meeting that need or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're also, well, that could also be a 7.
It could also be a 7.
It's not totally 1-to-1, but the other big thing about a 3 is that they function at an extremely high level, potentially unhealthy level. Yeah. What Ian says is the type 3 is the performer, success-oriented, image-conscious, and wired for productivity, motivated by a need to be or appear to be successful and to avoid failure. And so, like, that's who the 3 is, through and through.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. So on to the 4. We know and love a 4.
Oh, yeah.
So the Enneagram Institute calls them the individualist. I don't know. I don't remember what Ian calls the 4s.
He calls them the romantic.
Oh, the romantic. That's right. So the sensitive, withdrawn type, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental.
Yeah.
That's really harsh.
Yeah, so we talked about it off camera. That's a really harsh way to talk about the 4s.
4s are wonderful people.
Yeah, I like Ian's definition much better.
Yeah, I do
too.
The
creative, sensitive, and moody. They are motivated by a need to be understood, experience their oversized feelings, and avoid being ordinary.
Yeah.
I will tell you the 4 that we know, that's totally true.
Yeah.
They have a perpetual need to be understood. They can be talking and constantly go, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you'll hear that a million times when you're talking to this person. And they also spend an exuberant amount of time trying to be different than everybody else.
Which, honestly, it is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's who they are.
Yeah.
And so if that's you,
these are the people that add spice to life.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Oh, I totally forgot I was going to do integration and disintegrations with each one.
Oh yeah.
But a 4, their path of integration is a 2.
Yeah.
And their disintegration is a 1.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. So, because of that, they have 2 really good characteristics on either side of their integration or disintegration. And because they're a 4, they can be a 5 wing or a 3 wing. So they can be high functioning, or they can be investigative and knowledgeable.
And also, we'll talk about it when we get to the 5, but that also means that they can withdraw, right?
They can. Well, 4s do that anyways.
Right, they do.
They need to be in their fields. They need to get.
Yeah, but what I mean by, because with a 5, it's almost like you have, because I have a wing 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with the 5, it's almost like you have a social battery life.
Yeah.
And for some 5s more than others, it drains pretty fast.
Yeah, 5s are definitely stereotypically introverts.
Yeah. So 4s are great people. We're not bashing 4s.
No, not at all.
Then we have the 5, the investigator.
Yeah. So they use the same word on that one.
They do. They have on most of them. They changed the achiever and the reformer.
So the 1 and the 3.
And the 3.
But did they call the 2 the helper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the investigator.
Well, and they changed the 4.
Oh, that's right.
So the 2's the only one they've got the same.
Okay, never mind. The 2 and the 5. I mean, 6, 7, and 9 are the same. But so the investigator, the intense cerebral type, perceptive, innovative, secretive, and isolated.
That's That's a very different description of the 5 than Ian and Suzanne give.
Yeah, but I think it's accurate.
I'm not saying it's not.
Again, we've established that two different things, right?
Yeah,
we're doing two different things here.
Two different perspectives here. But what Ian and Suzanne say is that it's the investigator, analytical, detached, and private, motivated by a need to gain knowledge, conserve energy, and avoid relying on others.
Yeah.
Very independent, very focused on knowledge, very private, could gladly keep to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, that's just who a 5 is.
Again, 5s are beautiful people.
Yep.
Right? I don't know a whole lot of 5s, to be honest with you. I think I've met one. In my entire life, I think I've met one 5.
I think I know... I definitely know at least one.
Yeah.
We may be talking about the same person.
Possibly.
But it's also hard because their path of integration or their security number is a 7.
Yeah.
And their disintegration is an 8.
Yeah.
And so a 5 can very much so not look like a 5 at all, because a 7 is very extroverted, like outgoing, wants to be around people.
Out of curiosity, it's showing stress and security numbers right there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I wouldn't have ever seen that.
Yeah, it's the diagram, man.
So it's showing you right there, though? Okay, good. Because I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So for some reason, I thought it went by like in increments of 3, right?
No.
I guess not, but I thought it did for some reason.
Even the triads. The triads are the ones that go in developments of 3.
Yeah. Which Ian, I think, is one of the few that talks about the triads.
So the 3 triads, we'll have to talk about those later.
We will. But anyways, so the loyalist, that's me.
Yeah, you're a 6.
Oh, we are wonderful people too, no matter what anyone else might tell you. So the Enneagram Institute, and as a 3 or as a 6, I have to say it's accurate. And they're a bit nicer to us than I feel like Ian is, honestly.
Maybe so.
They say the committed security-oriented type, engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious. These are the people that are extremely... these are your preppers, I think is a good way to say it. These are the people that are expecting the worst.
Yeah.
So for years, I have quoted George Lopez, like before I even knew about the Enneagram. So George Lopez, you remember the old Nick at Night TV show? His mom said, if you expect a dog to bite you, you'll be happy if he poops on your shoes.
Yeah.
I have quoted that for years, and then whenever I figured out that I'm a 6,
this makes sense.
It makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
These are the people that expect the worst.
Yeah, so The Road Back to You talks about them as committed, practical, and witty. They are worst case scenario thinkers who are motivated by fear and the need for security.
Yeah. Definitely the need for security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the 6, 3, 6, 9 end up as integration and disintegration partners.
Yeah.
So at any given state, you and I can function the exact same way, but we're very different in our personalities.
Yeah, and how and the reason why.
Yep.
Right. You work at an unhealthy level because that's just what you do.
I need to perform. I need to achieve. Yep.
I do it because I feel like I need security.
Yeah.
Right. At least that's how it ends up working for me. I know that down the way, if I don't do the things that I need to do, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to have my security.
Which is totally makes sense why your path of stress would be a 3.
Yeah. Because that means like bust your butt
Yeah,
to get where you're
working
going.
harder to create that security for myself.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about earlier, right? Is that I was working at an unhealthy level, staying up till wee hours of the morning every night, working.
Yep.
Doing homework, doing WellHouse stuff.
Doing your day job stuff.
Doing my day job stuff just because I felt like I needed to work.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so helpful, because whenever I realized I was doing that,
it's like, oh, hey,
I need to take a break.
Note to self, I need some self-care time.
Yeah. And so coming off the Thanksgiving holiday, I took basically the whole week. I mean, I did a little bit of work here and there, but I took basically the whole week. And I feel great now. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm back in my integration, my 9.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on. These are the fun people. If you've ever hung out with a 7, these are the people you want to invite to your parties.
These are the people that are the life of your party.
Yeah, that's why you want
You have a crappy party if you don't have a 7 at it.
Absolutely.
Or apparently a healthy 5.
So the enthusiast, the busy, fun-loving type, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered.
Yeah. So I was going to say this before. I actually think there are 2 other Enneagram types that line up pretty accurately to pathways. I think the 5 lines up with the intellectual.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think the 7 actually lines up with its like name, the enthusiast.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so they are that life of the party person. The Road Back to You talks about them as fun, spontaneous, and adventurous. They are motivated by a need to be happy, to plan stimulating experiences, and to avoid pain.
Yeah. So like the 6 and the 5, we're going to talk about this a little bit more at a later episode. But they are a part of the fear triad, right? So the 7 is motivated by belonging, right? By not feeling a part of a community in a sense, right?
Well, they're motivated by a need to be happy because they're running from fear.
Right. These are these are the Chandler Bings of the world.
Yeah, so the way they talk about it is these numbers are driven by fear. 5s externalize it, 6s internalize it, and 7s forget about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. Yeah, these are the people that use humor to mask pain.
Yep. Oh yeah, Chandler Bing is a great way to talk about that. Yep. Yeah. I use humor as a defense mechanism.
I use humor as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. But just seriously, 7s are awesome people to have around. Just awesome people to have around, as well as 2s. We forgot to say that earlier. If you have a 2 in your life, you're a lucky person.
Well, I think all of them are great people.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the one that everybody's afraid to be is an 8. Nobody wants to be an 8 because they're the challenger.
Yeah.
But actually, Ian tells a story about his daughter being an 8, and in this story, she's the flipping hero.
Yeah.
I think they're all great.
Absolutely.
It's not meant to be a tool to say oh, this is a bad number to have, or this is a good number to have.
These people are better than these people.
Right. That's
not what that is.
That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is for us to say, hey, there's different people in the world, and they're reacting out of different experiences that they've had in their adolescence. And for our specific purposes at WellHouse, it's to say, hey, if you're this different as a person, maybe your spiritual expression should be equally different.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I don't think that it's fair for us to assume that a 1 should live their faith the same way that a 4 does.
Oh, no, because it would be fundamentally different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think when I was saying these are great people to have around, I mean, like, these are the people that, like, get you out on the dance floor.
Oh, they're absolutely that person.
These are the people pouring shots, right? Like,
oh yeah, they are that person. They're absolutely the dude that's the life of the party, or the girl.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Not. I don't think it's dominated by men. It's
I think the
men and women.
I think the only 7 I've known was actually a chick, but
so I definitely know a 7, and it's a guy. Trying to think if I know.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think I know 2 7s. And yeah, the other one's a dude. But anyways, the Challenger.
Yep, the 8.
The 8. It's the Challenger in there too, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the powerful, dominating type, self-confident, decisive. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading, y'all. Willful and confrontational.
Yeah, so that's the piece that's unique about the Challenger, the confrontation.
Yeah.
Like, they need the confrontation. And it doesn't have to be a violent confrontation.
No.
But they're going to be the person that has a voice for nobody else.
Yeah.
The Road Back to You says that they're commanding, intense, and confrontational. They're motivated by a need to be strong and avoid feeling weak or vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's the piece. They're a part of the anger or the gut triad. And the 8s are the ones that externalize that. That becomes very prevalent, very pronounced in them, because it is them trying to be strong and avoid feeling weak. Something happened in their life previously where they felt weak and vulnerable, and they never wanted that to happen again. And so they manifested themselves as strong and sometimes domineering.
So help me format this in a way that is not pejorative. 8s are the type that if you've ever been in a bar and there's some guy that's being really forward and hitting on this girl and borderline being inappropriate, the 8 would be the person that would step in and start a fight with that guy.
Well,
maybe not start a fight, but
a 1 could be that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's unique enough to the situation of an 8 that we could really use that. I think maybe a better one. I'm looking for it now, but I'm looking for that story that Ian has in here about his daughter. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, it's not Ian's daughter. It's Suzanne's daughter. Yeah, not Ian's daughter. It's Suzanne's daughter. And what I was actually looking for is they do this thing in the book. Oh yeah, here it is. So some famous 8s.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
He totally challenged something. But I'm going to read this excerpt here. This will give you an insight into just how good of storytellers they are, as well as kind of help define what an 8 is. This is Ian writing. One of my favorite stories about 8s as kids involves Suzanne's daughter, Joey. When Joey was 5, Suzanne got a voicemail message from the head of the daycare center she attended. If you raise children, you know that a call like this means that your kid is either throwing up in the Lego bucket or is in need of some crucial item that you, woefully pathetic parent that you are, failed to send them to school with. It's also possible you have a serial biter who is not responding to ongoing positive guidance that morning and needs their muzzle. In any case, it means that you have to go face the principal. But Suzanne was surprised to discover that the problem wasn't any of these typical scenarios. She learned to her bewilderment that Joey had come in earlier in the week to schedule an appointment with Miss Thompson, the director of the daycare. Suzanne, as you can imagine, we've never had a 5-year-old request a formal meeting, Miss Thompson explained. My secretary wasn't sure what to do, so she went ahead and scheduled it. Why did she want to meet with you, Suzanne asked. Well, Joey walked into my office ahead of me and suggested that we take a seat. I did, but she didn't, so she was eye level with me. She handed me a folder she'd been carrying under her arm and said, "Thank you for meeting with me, Miss Thompson. I have a problem, and I tried talking to my teacher about it, but she wasn't much help. I understand that most kids need to take a nap, but I don't. So rather than being bored and made to lie down during that time, I have an idea." Miss Thompson then handed over Joey's folder containing all her papers, all of which bore gold stars. Joey had brought the folder to Miss Thompson as Exhibit A to demonstrate her impeccable credentials and the genius of her plan. Since she didn't need a nap and her own papers were flawless, she should be permitted to help the teachers by checking papers during nap time. And I can do this for you for only $1.47 an hour, Joey said, straightening her back to bring herself to her full height. Suzanne, I can't pay her. It's against the law, said the director after she'd finished the story. So did you tell her no? Suzanne asked. The frown of disbelief on her face indicated that Miss Thompson had not even considered this possibility. Joey hadn't given her the impression it was an option. The point of the story is not to show that 8s are bullies, and Joey had a leg up on it. In fact, unless they're very unhealthy, 8s are not characteristically bullies. Bullies act out to compensate and cover their own fears, while 8s aren't afraid of anyone. Because of their concern for justice and desire to instinctively protect and defend the disadvantaged, 8s are more likely to stand up to bullies. It's to show how deep the wiring of the 8's number runs. Joey was flexing her 8ness even at the age of 5.
That's a wonderful story.
It is a wonderful story, and it shows you who an 8 is. An 8's not this really unhealthy, domineering, like bully person.
No.
It's just a person that stands up and is not afraid of confrontation.
Yeah. They advocate for themselves a lot.
Well, and
others.
Yeah. They talk about there at the end, like they will gladly step up and be against a bully.
Yeah. For sure. So this episode is almost 45
Well,
minutes
we're covering a huge topic.
Yeah. So we're going to move forward.
Yeah.
To the peacemaker.
Yeah, so that's the number 9.
These are good people. I've said that about almost all of them, but the peacemaker, these are the easygoing, self-effacing type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent.
Yep.
These are these are your beach people. Like plucking a ukulele, laying on the beach, sipping a Mai Tai. Like,
could also be your hippies, but yeah, man, all's well, peace, love, happiness, like just whatever, not a care in the world.
Yeah.
The road back to you says they're pleasant, laid back, and accommodating, motivated by a need to keep the peace, merge with others, and avoid conflict.
Yeah. Bob Marley.
Yeah. 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 That's a great comparison. Yeah. So the point, we spent a long time, 45 minutes or so, talking to you about the Enneagram, and the whole purpose is because we're fixing to start a series going through the Enneagram as it relates to someone's spirituality.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at a few different books, and I think it's a great time to do it because there's a publisher who I really love in IVP, InterVarsity Press, who's just come out with a series and is in the middle of coming out with it. I think every week they're launching new books. But it's 40 days on being, or 40 reflections on being an Enneagram blank.
Yeah.
So our friend and my mentor, Sean Palmer, wrote 40 Days on Being an Enneagram 3. They're doing them for all the numbers. And so we have those resources we can point you to. There's a great book called Sacred Enneagram.
That's a good one.
That we're going to keep referring back to. There are any number of these where we've seen people now exploring this idea that personality should affect spirituality.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do here. We want you to know that you're a unique person, uniquely made in the image and likeness of God, and that there's a very specific way in which you are most likely better suited to experience God than simply reading your Bible and doing spontaneous prayers.
Yeah.
There are other ways in which God can manifest himself in your life if we get you to a place where you better know yourself.
I think that's fair. And if you already know what your Enneagram number is, or if you're now starting to suspect because you've never heard of the Enneagram before and we just went through all this, whatever your number is, embrace it. Right?
Yeah, don't be afraid of your number.
No, embrace it. Learn your integration, your disintegration, your stress and security, right? Figure out when you're healthy and learn when you're not healthy.
Yep.
And when you're not healthy, take the steps that you need to become healthy.
Yeah.
And that can also impact your spirituality as well. So just be aware of that. Take the steps, guys.